how is inflation created? The central banks have destroyed our world, and I want to show everybody that it's happened. Yes, the central banks have destroyed our world, but not in the ways that they think. We've had the use of the balance sheet for over a decade now, and in Japan even longer. It never generated inflation. But they want that inflation because they want to prove that the monetarism is the kind of holy grail that they worship. And it's the people who worship Volcker, for example, come with different angles. So a lot of people are imposing perspectives that they hold from political opinions. And so the narratives become overwhelming. And I've actually gone on Twitter and said, okay, if you think sticky inflation, how do you vote? Sticky inflationists are Republicans in general. And it's just because of the construct of how people see the world. What I try and do is not look at that. I mean, at Global Macro Investor, we have 2,000 charts. And we just try and use the data and not impose our own views on the data, and see what that comes out with. And that gives us the high probability that inflation just reverts back to 2% or lower. Doesn't mean I'm definitely right, but it comfortably gives me a decent probability, I think. 2008, every major government in the world of a developed economy hit 100% of GDP in debt. So, okay, and interest rates, let's say 5-year interest rates where they generally finance themselves, have averaged around 2% or less. But so's economic growth. So if you think of GDP as all of the money circulating around to pay for the debt, there's no more money left over. But the problem is, the private sector is over 100% of GDP in debt in every major country. So who pays for that debt? That's when they started shoving the interest payment debt onto the balance sheets, because the world basically hit the tipping point in 2008, and people still haven't worked this out. But I think I was the first person, and still maybe the only person, who's gone back and calculated all of the interest payments and realized that they are, and the balance sheet growth, and realized that they are just 3.5 years apart, the same chart. They just keep monetizing it. And that's the way that they see out of the debt, is to mutualize those payments across everybody by increasing the balance sheet. But the debt doesn't go away because GDP is not growing fast enough. That for individuals, as I said, there's only 2 assets that outperform this. That's technology and that's crypto. Okay, fine. The economy, that's really hard to get this to sort itself out. People are waiting for a collapse, the market's down 80%. It can't. The reason it can't is the central bank debased the currency and it makes the stock market go up, optically, because they can't allow the collateral of the system to go bust. So they don't allow the system to go bust, and it creates this ongoing problem. But if you listen to the narratives from the central banks and the governments, what they're really saying is the whole green energy revolution. Europe is massively funding this. And yes, it's good for the planet. Yes, it's good for a number of things. But really what they're trying to do is lower the cost of electricity. Because if you lower the cost of electricity, it has this multiplier effect on productivity. And that's how you can grow GDP growth. The other thing is population. Well, we're shrinking populations, as I said, so we have to replace people. So look at Amazon warehouses. The growth is not in people, the growth is in the robots. The robots work 24/7, 365, they never complain, and they cost a fraction of a human. So every company is incentivized to employ robots to do jobs instead of humans. Then this year we had the nuclear bomb of deflation, which is human knowledge, lawyers, doctors, accountants, creative artists, developers, everybody, and they're replaceable via the infinite knowledge machine that is AI. So that's scary for us as individuals. But if population growth is a large part of the components of GDP growth, you can create infinite people by the robots and AI. But if you put infinite people or infinite productive units into the economy, you can make infinite goods. Now, who pays for the goods? Maybe the machines pay for the goods. We don't know. This is a whole new economic system being built in front of our eyes. This is something I call the exponential age, which is where all of these technologies are coming together, from energy to AI to robotics to EV to space to 5G, 6G, all of these things, biotech, all coming together, genetic sciences, to create this fastest period of technological change in all of humanity. Macro guys generally tended to be mean reversion guys. They look for something to get excessive, then they want to, bet against it. And they see the world like this, like the business cycle. And none of us could understand technology and why it kept going up. We kind of could understand crypto because it's like this macro phenomena of, a whole different financial system, parallel financial system, getting adoption, etc. But technology, none of us got, apart from the few. And when I started dividing everything by the central bank balance sheets to take account debasement, I saw that technology was one of the things that just kept rising. And that led me to dig into this whole process. And that completely changed my framework of the world. I wasn't looking for the blow up now. I was looking for the melt up. And, crypto markets had taught me to use these logarithmic charts of these trends. If you look at the chart of Amazon, Apple, Google, Facebook, all of these, on a logarithmic chart, they're almost perfectly smooth trends. They're network adoption models. But when you look at them normally, they look like they go up and down a lot. Yes, they do, but within a consistent, secular, powerful trend. Once I saw that, I'm like, if our job is to make money, then this is the trend you need to be on, the secular trend, because it's driven by the central banks. It's driven by technology itself, but then also driven by the central banks debasing. So you get the double whammy from it. It's like, okay, this is perfect. And it also is the answer to the massive macro problem of excess debt and slow GDP and aging populations. So when you've got something that's so against the persistent narrative that everything's screwed and it's all going to go wrong, and you see it and do a lot of hundreds of hours of research on it, and you come up with a completely opposite view, it's like, oh my God. And then I started surfacing that view for Global Macro Investor, and then within Real Vision and elsewhere, and it was like a light bulb moment for people. They're like, oh my God, suddenly now understand why things are happening as they are, why technology stocks keep outperforming, why crypto keeps going up, why people are angry, why politics have become so polarized. It all starts to make sense. And that's a lot of people hold that view, that you end up with a hyperinflation or something of that sort, a total economic collapse.